There are two Eddies in my life that I'd like to talk about. One of them was a cousin who was a high school student. He was a year above me, I believe, or maybe 2 years above me. No. He was a year above me with my brother, the second Eddie. Two friends, two peas in a pod, two Eddies that both went to La Salle Catholic College in Bankstown. Both Maronite Catholics, both Tokes, both amazing, strong Eddies that were both negatively impacted by our family. The second Eddie, the cousin, is deceased and has, and I believe he passed away. You know, yeah, quite a while ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Quite a while. It's been a while. God rest his soul. He was an amazing person. I loved him. He was my hero in a way. He really was. My interaction with him was quite personal. I actually had several interactions with him that were quite personal in high school. I was bullied a lot in high school, and I would tell my brother, and he would intimidate or bash the bullies for me. This is in year 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever it was, I don't know. And if the bully was too big for my brother Eddie, he'd get my cousin Eddie. And my cousin Eddie would finish anyone. Big, tough guy. No, he wasn't big. He was just tough. All of our family were tough. My brother could have taken any bully, but I think he just wanted help. Or he just wanted to hang out with his cousin Eddie. And perhaps they both wanted to help me vanquish my demons. No, um, help me with my bully issue, let's just say. And that's the kind of person that Eddie was for me, my cousin Eddie. This big, not big, I keep saying big. He wasn't big, he was average size. He was quite tall, but that's one thing that I want to emphasize. He wasn't huge, but his personality was big. Great energetic guy, very sporty, very well respected in the community. Great guy. Yeah, my Saint George. Yeah, yeah, why not? Um, um, and I believe he passed away from a drug overdose. And I believe that was something that he was struggling with for a long time before he passed away. And I know that that caused a lot of anguish for my brother. And he has so much other stuff to deal with. I think when he found that out, he must have just packed it away somewhere and just forgot about it because it's too uncomfortable to sort of bear. But it came out a couple of times in front of me. It happens, stuff like that. How much it affected my brother. Um, and that's kind of what happens. Um, People don't talk about why someone like Eddie passed away, but it still affects so many people in the community, Lebanese Maronite community, in the Toke family community. Um, I believe it affected one person quite substantially. Eddie's passed in a way. Once Eddie passed away, I think one particular member of the family, I should say, was really affected by it, and yeah, may have ultimately led to his demise. Maybe I should just leave that at that. He was a lovely person, Eddie, and his brothers are amazing. His big brother also went to my high school, and I remember having fond interactions with him, and he's big and strapping and lovely. All of his family are. And there's that connection with my family and his family through the two Eddies. But there's also the other side of it, the shadow, the darker side, which is unfortunate. It really is. And I think at this point, that's all that you can sort of say. It's unfortunate. That's all it is. Let's try to learn from it and make sure it doesn't happen. And I believe it happened at least once after that, someone passing away in the family of similar circumstances. That's the tragedy, in my opinion. That the lack of talking, the lack of transparency makes the problem go unnoticed and continues. But also, if you're struggling and if there's something tragic like that happens, it doesn't make it easier for you, it makes it worse. And it's really important that people kind of have an avenue to sort of navigate or vent when something like that happens. And I don't believe there was that in the community. And that's not on their family, by the way, because they were traumatized. It's not on them. It's the community. And for me, what I heard was, don't talk about it. I'm sorry to laugh, but I've been through the looking glass, seen behind the curtain. I know what it is that they're struggling with, or I have a very good idea, and sweeping it under the rug is probably one of the worst things that you can do, because so many people can learn from that tragedy, and a lot more harm could have been avoided. The second Eddie in my life, I should say, my brother Eddie, real name Asad, but we call him Eddie because his kindergarten teacher in Uguna could not pronounce his name. That's a little fun fact for you. That's why his name is Eddie. And he was my St. George in a way in high school, helping me with the bully situation. And in a lot of ways, as an adult, I think I feel as though I need to protect him from his bullies, which is my Uncle Charlie and my father, Majid. I really, really want to emphasize that. A lot of my brother's issues stem from the abuse at the hands of his Uncle Charlie and his father, Majid Toke. Horrible monsters in his life that have done nothing but exacerbate his mental health issues and his struggles with substances. My brother was a hard child for my mum to deal with, so she called my Uncle Charlie to take Eddie away to his shop in Bexley. My brother was 16 at the time, and he bashed my brother viciously in front of me at 16. Way more than what was necessary. It felt like my uncle had a lot of anger in him that he was getting out on my brother. And I believe that was actually a very astute observation of me at the age of 14 or 15, whatever I was, because I believe that is true about my uncle. He doesn't hurt people because they have it coming. He bashes people because he's got some unresolved emotional issue that he's lashing out, that he's projecting, I should say, onto innocent bystanders. A 16-year-old does not deserve to be bashed and bruised like that. And he continued that in his shop in Bexley, shaved his head and all that stuff. And I think at the time we accepted that because, we thought my brother at the time needed that sort of hard discipline, which is fair, but it's not fair. But a Lebanese Maronite from Sydney, knowing all the other families around me, that's perfectly acceptable. There was a lot of drug addiction and criminality and just violence and abuse, right? Domestic abuse. And so, the ends justified the means. My brother was quite aggressive and abusive towards his mother, and he was going through that age. So that affected me much more than I thought it did, you know, because of the level of aggression that I saw. And then several years after that, when I was in my 20s, I find out that he, bashed his niece as well. So just that level just to experience that level of aggression at 16 must have been traumatizing for my brother. And when my brother was living at my grandparents' house with my uncle at the time, my uncle Charlie, I think he was in between his house up the road and his grandfather's. I don't know actually. I don't believe he was living in the house that my brother was living in. I think he just came there to antagonize my brother, or at least that's what my brother says. But my uncle is antagonistic, and he's assaulted my brother several times. And I believe my uncle was upset at my brother because he left rehab early, and so a fight ensued. And at this point, my brother had basically been hardened by the abuse, by my father, by my uncle, by everyone. And then, he'd been to jail at this point in rehab and living on the streets. And he was quite toughened at that point. And I think that sort of reveals how weak and pathetic someone like my Uncle Charlie is, because he thought that, he could antagonize my brother and get away with it. But he got a good bollocking by my brother and began posting photos on Facebook about that on WhatsApp, on the family WhatsApp group, of selfie photos of his bruised forehead. Some people deserve a smack. And if you go up to someone that you abused mercilessly growing up, that is now drug addicted, and angry, and has got a whole plethora of mental health issues, if you go up to that person and antagonize them, you might, come out a little bit scratched. But my Uncle Charlie's delusional, and he's got these sort of notions that he's right and the whole world's wrong. It was so sad and pathetic to see a grown man take sad selfies of himself, and when he wasn't getting the kind of reaction that he wanted to get from those selfie photos alone, he went to the nursing home to visit his mother so he could take selfie shots with his dying mum and his bruised forehead. It was quite bizarre, I should say. Yeah. But that's the sort of person that my Uncle Charlie is. And that might have been very frustrating for my brother. I want to say, because he was antagonized and hurt by my uncle, and he came out on top because he's more physically powerful than my uncle. And then my uncle basically just goes on this campaign telling everyone that he's a monster. And he sued the police as well. He really got it into his head that what happened was actually true. It was extraordinary. But he did get knocked on the head, and he's an epileptic, so perhaps that would have, I don't know, sent him into another sort of manic state where, he gassed up he just filled let's say his lawyer was just rambling and rambling and rambling. You don't understand. I helped Assad, I helped Eddie. I've done everything for him. I've never touched him. Maybe I was rough to him once. He cracked me in the skull. We got to sue the police. It's me. I'm the victim. I'm the victim. Help me. Help me. Help me. My brother was on the street after that. He got bashed by his uncle. He got the police, um, sent to him, and he was out on the street after that. My uncle did this vicious campaign, basically saying he can't stay at my grandfather's house and all this sort of stuff, and he sued the police to sort of solidify it. What a cruel, cynical, disgusting person my uncle Charbel, aka Charles Charbel, is to my brother Assad, or Eddie. The first most special Eddie in my life. Actually, I've got a lot of special Eddies in my life. But that was horrific. That was upsetting, I should say, for me to find out that my uncle sued the police after that. Because he was adamant that he was the victim. And you know what? In his mania, probably did believe that he was the victim. Lord, what my family has allowed my Uncle Charlie to get away with. Specifically, my Uncle Maroon, who's the eldest brother, who should have put a stop to this years ago. Certainly after his father passed away, but he never did. Because he doesn't care. Because why would he? That's how he's been raised. That's his level. There's no reason for him to care about his brother bashing his nephew, or his nephew being bashed and now being out on the street. It doesn't matter. And his father, Assad's father, Eddie's father, my father, where was he when all this was going on? In Qatar. Hearing the stories over the phone by my aunties and uncles, doing absolutely nothing but whinging about it. Because he is proficient, my father Majid is proficient at talking. Oh, that's unfortunate. That's bad. We need to help my son, whatever, in his way. I don't even know what he would have said, but he's just all talk. He would have talked about it, hung up the phone, perhaps had sex with the Thai maid that he fornicates with regularly. After that, I don't know. I really don't know. I know that he doesn't work very often, but he doesn't seem to care about his son suffering. When Eddie, his son, was in Qatar with him on 2 occasions in a desperate attempt to help my brother, because Qatar's a country that doesn't have drugs. The first thing that always happened is my dad, calling me in a frenzy, desperate to get rid of his son because it's too inconvenient for him. Because he just wants to live a bachelor life in a foreign country and come to Sydney and feel like he's on holiday with the family that he tormented and tortured and scarred for life. It is disgusting. It really, really is. The type of person that my father, Majid Toke, is. And when I think of why people didn't talk about Eddie passing away and the factors that led up to it, I think of my father and how he was one of those disgusting elements that represented that shame of drug use. And his shame prevented people from being able to talk about someone struggling with mental health issues and drug addiction. My father suffered from mental health issues and drug addictions, and unfortunately the drugs did not take him, but they ruined my life, my mother's, my sister's, my brother's, his brother Tony, and his Uncle Charlie. The reason why Charlie's a monster on top of the epilepsy is because he had to deal with abuse from my father as well since 1988. And the what we've earned from that, what's been bequeathed to us from the stain of my father from 1988 when I was born, was my Uncle Charlie assaulting a woman last year, his wife last year. That is what my family is and led up to. That's their legacy. I don't want to be a part of that anymore. It's harmed my Uncle Tony too much. It's harmed my brother Eddie too much, and my cousin Eddie too much. And the other Eddie too much. I'm kind of done. Thank God, I love you. I love you, Lebanese Maronite community in Sydney, and the Toke family, and the Toke Association, and the Pshadi Association, and that nasty little parish, that nasty little St. Charbel's parish in Punchbowl. Gallivanting around with my Uncle Charlie. Just hanging out with him. Yeah, Charlie. Yeah, come. Do our upholstery inside the church. Ooh, yeah, I bet you'd like that, St. Charbel's Parish Punchbowl. Yeah. Do my upholstery. I'll pay you and I'll give you money. Oh, gosh. I got baptized at St. Charbel's Parish Punchbowl. I love that church. That's why it's a shame that it's been stained, in my opinion, for me and several other people. Alright. Love you. Bye.